God bless everybody today. It's October 26th, 2023. I have some articles here that are, I believe, pertinent to what's going on today. Think you'll find them extremely interesting and definitely feeds in with the narrative of Turkey and how I believe in the next few weeks we're going to see them enter this conflict with Israel and do an invasion into Syria and Iraq. We'll see how that turns out. You know, I keep telling people I don't have a crystal ball. I just keep showing you dates and things that mattered in the past that might matter in the future. Whether or not they come true, I'm just showing you the information. So let's dive into these reports and I'll show you what I'm talking about and we'll see what happens. So we have this 100th anniversary of the Republic of Turkey coming up, and this is the fall of the Ottoman Empire back in 1923 through the Treaty of Lausanne. We had this destruction, we thought, of the Ottoman Empire, but it's not gone away. As you can see, Turkey, or Erdogan, is trying to rebuild this by the end of this year, and he's been doing a good job of it in the last 20 years to revamp this thing so that he can build his legacy. So let's look at some of these articles, and I think there's some really interesting things sort of correlating all at the same time. We'll see how this all plays out. So Republic of Turkey enters a new century. Now it's interesting they keep indicating this is a new century, that they're going to demonstrate the new Turkey. You know, they've had 100 years of revamping and now they're bringing out the new Turkey. So we'll see what the new Turkey's all about. So we're going to enter this new century with formidable domestic defense advances. And this is extremely important because Turkey is a powerhouse in building defensive weapons, okay, or anything that, you know, is military. And it indicates that the country's defense exports reached 4.5 billion last year. Now, these are exports. These are weapons they're actually exporting out to other populations. You know, they're going to places that are, you know, working against us. And 4 Turkish firms among world's top 100 defense exporters. Now, this was just recently on the today, this article came out, and it indicates that Turkey is completing its 100th anniversary with hundreds of domestically produced weapon systems ranging from missiles to mortars. And it says in a strategic geography where conflicts have been witnessed through the ages, Turkey has always needed high-level defense projects to protect itself. But due to strained relationships with some countries over disagreements, it has been facing some embargoes or difficulties in obtaining these systems. So they went out and built their own. It's been sort of going on since '85, and then indicated that this massive founding of this period of defensive Turkish defensive industry was built between '85 and 2004, and that's interesting because, like I said, Erdogan has basically been in power since 2003 through primary elections, as indicated, and so he sort of came into power in 2002, and he's been in pretty much power since, and so we need to keep our eye on all that. And so they've been working hard on rebuilding this military complex, and they are the second largest army in NATO. They're not anyone to mess around with, and it indicates that they exported a total of 4.5 billion last year in just defensive weapons alone, or weapons that they sold other groups or areas of people. And so I just want to show you that they are a major player in technology, especially in drones and other weapons of mass destruction that they're going to use as we move forward here. And I've been talking about this possible invasion into Syria and Iraq against the Kurds. He just had finished his first phase on October 5th. He's starting his next two phases, and he's then also expanded his buffer zone that he wants to create in Syria and Iraq by up to 70 kilometers, where it was originally 20 to 30 kilometers. And so he is in the process right now of softening up these targets. And you've also noticed that we've had 14 attacks in both Syria and Iraq on U.S. troops here lately, which is causing also all kinds of friction in the area also. And so we need to keep an eye on all these things and keep watching what's going on there, and pray for our troops over there that are in harm's way also as we move forward. So as you realize what's going on here, they're having this huge celebration for this 100th year anniversary, and that's going to take place on Sunday, which is an interesting date as I show you as we move forward here. I'll show you why that's important. And he is trying to revive this Ottoman Republic in his own image, okay? Not in this guy's image, in his image. He is going to rebuild this. I've been talking about this for a while. Look, if you go to the statue, it's real simple. The Ottomans are the feet of iron and clay. They're the seventh kingdom that have been under, or have ruled over, the Jews in the time of the history of the Jews. It's that simple. You can go through the history books and you can see these nations that have come up. The Ottomans were destroyed in 1923, we thought, but now this man is rebuilding it in 2023, as he's been indicating for almost 20 plus years he's going to do this. He's going to rebuild it in his image, in a new Ottoman era, as he's talking about, in a new 100th century moving forward, the new 100th century as they move forward, okay? Not the old one. It's interesting, in this article it indicates that now Erdogan is walking a fine line between paying respects to this old Ottoman Empire, emperor who created the country, and building his own legacy. So Erdogan is concerned about his own legacy and how he's going to be presented in the history books as he moves forward. This is not a young man anymore. One that critics fear is pulling Turkey back into its Ottoman past. And in his speeches, he proclaims about the new century of Turkey, not the old one. He's going to rebuild the new century. He is the new leader of Turkey. He's changed the name of Turkey, even the spelling of it. Everything's getting moved back to this Ottoman past, but will be controlled by Erdogan. This could include a revised constitution that protects women's right to stay veiled in public and defines marriage as a union between man and woman. So just realize that they're having all this, this man, he's in the 100th year of this celebration. He thinks that they've been basically under 600 years of rule, and he's going to break out of this. He wants to become a world leader. This is his aspiration, is to bring this Ottoman Empire back. It also, this is another interesting point. He took the this church, this Istanbul's Hagia Sophia, I can't say it right probably, and he converted this ancient cathedral into an Ottoman mosque, okay? And then he called it the first church of Turkey, okay? Because he's converting the whole country back into this, okay? And what I find interesting about this new church that he built back as a mosque is it happened on October 8th. Okay, we got talking about that between October 7th and October 9th dates when Israel was attacked. At that very moment in time, Erdogan was converting one of the original churches in Istanbul to an Ottoman church. It's just that simple. A mosque. So a lot of things are playing out for a reason in the time that they're supposed to be playing out, because this man is going to change the Middle East soon. And he's doing it for a reason. He is ideologically driven to rebuild this Ottoman nightmare that's getting ready to come upon you. And if you don't understand what this is, you need to go back in the history books and understand what the Ottomans were. We talked about Constantinople, Turkey, and when it fell, that brought Islam to Europe, okay? And we talked about 1453 and when that actually occurred, okay? We talked about a number of these dates and things in time. And I know some of you don't agree with the past to future prophecy thing. That's your problem, not mine. I'm just showing you where the information is, how you can sort of see what happened in the past and see how it might reflect the future. I can't guarantee whether these things are going to play out or not. I think they're just extremely important to check out, number one. And it also teaches a lot of history is another thing. But you need to understand that this man is extremely driven by his ideology, and he's going to bring this back. It's just that simple. So now he's literally brought back the first mosque in Turkey as an Ottoman, church. He's celebrating his 100th year of the old Ottomans that's combining into a new Ottoman century of 100 years as we move forward. So that's extremely important. He seems to be lining up with my calendar on dates of when he's actually doing things that are affecting not only his country, but it seems to be Israel's being affected at the very same time. And I talked about those dates between September 18th, October 9th. This falls right in the middle, right at the end of that. We saw Hamas attack on the 7th. And then we started to actually see resurgences and other things on October 9th. This fell right in the middle of it all. So whether that matters or not, it does matter in the sense that he's rebuilding the Ottoman mosques and different things like that. His churches, you have to realize that he's not moving towards the West. He has his own ideology, and he does not agree with our ideology, as he's come out very sternly against America and Israel about the massacre that's potentially happening in Gaza, in his words. Okay? So it's extremely important that you understand all this. It's extremely important because this guy's going to play a major role in what's happening as we move forward. So in this article, they're talking about all the different things that they're going to do during the festival, things that they're going to present. I'm sure they're going to have a big military parade and all kinds of stuff to bring in the new century of the new Turkey. It's even spelled different because it brings back the old Ottoman nightmare. According to the statement, the events will feature revolutionary breakthroughs implemented over the centuries since the foundation of the Republic of Turkey, which emphasizes the Century of Turkey roadmap, the new roadmap moving forward. I think it's extremely important we understand what that new roadmap is. As part of the events, Turkey's accomplishments in various fields over the past 100 years, from the defense industry, wow, we just talked about that, to culture, will be narrated through various digital exhibitions and 3D displays. Pretty high tech. A virtual show featuring drones and fireworks will be held in Istanbul, but the 100th year march will resonate in historical locations with special light shows, the director said. Further, special exposition titled From the Past to Future Turkey Century will be set up in the front of the cultural center in Istanbul's Taskim Square. Probably saying that wrong. It will provide an interactive and a technological experience for citizens in water scenes, water shows, and scenes broadcasting 3D content. So there's just all these interesting things are going on during the 29th of October, which is an interesting thing as we move forward. I want to show you why that might matter. And so we have this partial lunar eclipse that is happening at this very time. And so I think the timing of things like this are extremely important because God shows us signs and seasons and the sun and the moon and different things like that. So we should be watching for things like this that might matter to us as we move forward. This is an extremely interesting partial eclipse that happens between October 28th and 29th. Now this is for Europe, Africa, it's going to be over Turkey, Western Australia, different areas like that. North America will not see it, so it's over in the Middle East, over this area. I'm going to show you this map. This will show you the area that's going to affect the most. And I think that's extremely important that it affects this very specific area that is under attack in the Middle East right at this moment. And so, and you also have this centurion thing on the 29th going on at the same time. So there's just a lot happening as you move forward. And you can see this will be visible all over this area that's affected by the Middle East. And so I think that's extremely important. Now, will this affect us as we move forward through Turkey? And I've been talking about this invasion that's potentially coming up in the next few weeks. We'll see how that happens. But it's extremely important that you can see the movement of this, that it happens on these very specific dates, and all the different information out here that you can go and look at. Okay, I'm not going to get into a lot of this stuff. I've always tried to show you the information. You can come out and look at them and see how it affects us as we move forward. It may not affect you at all. It could be just something going on in the sky tonight, folks. But it is important that we show you all these things, and then you can make a determination as we move forward if it actually affects us into the future. I think Erdogan is waiting to do this invasion after this ceremony, because then he'll start his new centurion 100-year, his legacy, not the last guy's legacy, his legacy. And so the other date that I keep throwing down in the near future is this November 5th date where we had this Battle of Issus, which would be the potential attack onto Turkey before he invades into Syria. And this was done through Darius the Mede and Alexander the Great. We've talked about how this happens, how Erdogan pulls down in the very specific area of Turkey as right before he moves into Syria. The Kurds come up, attack them. They fail in this process, and then Turkey then moves down into Lebanon, Israel, Gaza, and Egypt before he then goes against Iran and then comes back to Jerusalem for that siege, potentially on December 22nd of this year. We'll see if that actually happens or not. I'm just showing you the dates and that all these things matter to you, okay, as we move forward possibly. So it's important that as we get into these maps, it's interesting that it goes through a lot of different things. I'm not going to go over this too much tonight. It talks about Issus. We've talked about Issus and where that is on the map in Turkey. So if you go into the Middle East map, that would be this area up in here, right around in this area here. So Turkey would start to pull their forces down in here for an invasion into Syria. The Kurds come over the top. They get countered. They fall to Erbil. Turkey would then come down into Syria, to Lebanon, to Tyre, around Jerusalem, into Gaza, into Egypt. He comes back to Tyre, takes on the Kurds again in Erbil. They fall to Baghdad and end up in Shush, would be in Daniel 8 prophecy. Once Iran falls, and this has, so in this case, the Kurds would align with Iran. Once that alignment happens, Turkey would come over and crush both nations. Once Iran falls, that then completes Daniel 8, moves you into Ezekiel 38 and 39, and 10 full nations then form around Jerusalem for a siege, potentially on December 22nd of this year. We'll see if that plays out or not. What's interesting about this Battle of Issus was this was the original incursion against the Persian Empire and its destruction over time through Alexander the Great. Okay, so this was extremely important that this might be the original invasion that could potentially end Iran in the future. It is a possibility that God has already played this out in the past and will show us in the past how this will play out in the future. And we will have to see how this all works as we move forward. So you can see, some of the battle plans that had happened, troop movements, different things that had happened. And then there was a decisive attack by Alexander that broke the Kurdish lines and forced them towards the east prior to going down into Lebanon. Okay, so it's extremely important that we look at all these dates and different things and see whether or not they might play out in the future. One thing I've learned about the Jews is, and their history is, a lot of things that happened to the Jews, just like the Yom Kippur War that happened in 73, happened in 2023 on almost the exact same date. The destruction of the first temple of Nebuchadnezzar was the same date that the second temple was destroyed. Okay, so we keep having these reoccurring events that constantly reoccur in the past that seem to affect the Jews as we move forward in the future. And so I keep bringing these things up. And I have people throw it back at me all the time that it's just too, it can't happen like that. And I keep looking at me at why. Why can't it happen like that? You think God's not already shown you this whole story? I get frustrated with people that don't seem to think we can know anything and just walk into darkness. It's frustrating when you have all this history to look at, and then when you go back in the history of the Jews, you realize, wow, these things keep reoccurring constantly. Maybe we should watch at what's going on as we move forward. And I talked about this paradigm and how it is a past to future paradigm, and it's seems to be playing out as we move forward. Now, will it? Look, I'm still waiting for confirmation. I've been talking about this for a long time. I have people out here that seem to think I'm so sure of myself. I'm waiting for confirmation here, folks. Daniel 8 is my confirmation. If Turkey invades and goes against the Kurds and pushes them off and then enters into Lebanon, I'm pretty sure this is playing out. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks, next few months. We've got this window between now and December 22nd that I think is extremely important to see how this plays out. And I would like to let this play out. People want to destroy me before this actually occurs. If it doesn't occur in the future, I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong. I'm just showing you as an analyst the stuff that I found and how it might affect you as you move forward. But the paradigm does seem to be playing out at this very moment, and we'll have to see how that plays out as we move forward. God bless everybody tonight. Hopefully this gives you some information as we move forward in the next few weeks, and we'll see how this all works out. God bless. Find the open door. Find Jesus.